All right, guys, I'm talking about underrated niche fragrances today. Fragrances that I consider really, really awesome that you're going to want to know about because not many people are talking about these fragrances, but I discovered them and I want to recommend them to you guys so you can discover them as well and also wear them and smell totally original next to your friends who are probably wearing all the fragrances people are talking about. So a great collection of underrated niche fragrances and some underrated niche houses that are brand spanking new. You're gonna wanna stick around and discover these fragrances. But let's get started with the first fragrance. We're going to the house of Maitre Parfumeur Gantier, and this is a classic of theirs. This is Parfum de Habit. Are you guys familiar with this? Now, this brand is known for Ambrox and a few other fragrances, but Parfum de Habit is a really awesome classic. It's a unisex offering, maybe leaning masculine. It also kind of, mimics the idea and the style of Guerlain's Habit Rouge, but this is a bit more in the leather way, and it's super, super awesome, and I think it's perfect for autumn wear as well. In the end, it's a leather, it's patchouli, there's sandalwood, geranium, ambergris, incense, black currant buds, bergamot, petitgrain, and vanilla. So if you like Habit Rouge and you want to graduate to something a bit more niche, as Maitre Parfumeur Gantier is one of the first niche houses, I think this is definitely one for you to try. I think the leather is amped up, but behind it all, you can kind of get that Habit Rouge-like DNA. It's not so vanillic. There is the lemony kind of citrusy touch that Habit Rouge has as well. But I think it's a really, really awesome fragrance. If you are a fan of fragrances like Habit Rouge, definitely try Maitre Parfumeur Gantier's Parfum de Habit. I highly recommend that. And definitely an awesome release. Now let's move on to a house called Dr. Vranjes with Leather Oud. Now this is probably so many different fragrances called Leather Oud. I actually bought this recently while I was in Florence for Petit Fragranza, and I came back and I noticed that they're online for around $100. I paid around 200 euros for this, and I carded it all the way for my 1 month trip. But I was actually wanting this fragrance for the longest time because I really love the way it smells. It's leather oud, but not like Dior's discontinued leather oud. That's kind of animalic. This is more very leathery. It's featuring notes of Elemi, geranium, rose, lily of the valley, oud, leather, incense, patchouli, amber, ebony, sandalwood, musk, and vanilla. And they've done such a great job with this one. The leather shines, the oud shines. You experience the kind of rosiness behind it all. It does have this kind of a very Middle Eastern presence. It has some, light sweetness there with the vanilla and the amber in here. But once again, kind of leaning masculine here, but also very Middle Eastern style, but such a luxurious take on the leather and oud combo with the rose. And you'll notice the slight smokiness and the earthiness from the patchouli as well, the smokiness from the incense. But if you guys don't know Dr. Vranjes, check it out. I just recently also found out that L'Occitane has purchased Dr. Vranjes, and they're mostly known for home diffusers and things like that, but definitely a brand you should check out if you don't know. And I believe Neiman Marcus or maybe Bergdorf sells the brand, so it should be fairly easy to discover that fragrance. Let's move on to a house called Piver, and they've recently rebranded and are relaunching some of their historic fragrances. This is La Reine de Fleurs. I think it's their very first fragrance, probably dating back to the 1700s. It's been redone and very luxurious now, and this stuff smells really, really awesome. It's a citrus aromatic, but done in a very luxurious way, and I highly recommend the brand. I'm a big fan of the brand. And this is, it's classic style for sure. The idea of citruses, these kind of very juicy, sparkling citruses with spicy aromatics and herbs and things like that. But here they've got Ambrox, Lavandin, Musk, Petitgrain, Rosemary, Thyme, and Verbena. But what they've done is just modernize their classic fragrances and with really awesome presentation, as you can see here. So awesome. Really love this house. I've been a fan of it for probably a little over 10 years. That's when I first discovered it, but the brand's been around for a long time, like probably dating back to the 1700s. And definitely, I think they're gonna, make a presence here very soon. They just launched at Printemps in New York. And so I could see them, rolling out in various niche perfume shops. Kind of sort of like Ors de El Legrand. So check that out, La Reine de Fleurs. I think it's a great citrus aromatic fragrance. And speaking of citrus fragrances, this is one of the juiciest orange fragrances. In fact, it smells like, the idea of drinking orange juice. This is Acqua dell'Elba's Blue. Are you guys familiar with Acqua dell'Elba? For me, this reminds me a little bit of Orange Sanguine from Atelier Cologne. And for me, the Atelier Cologne, the Orange Sanguine refers to blood orange. There's no blood orange here, but to me, it gives me that idea. It's just really juicy, sweet, slightly tart, kind of the experience of orange juice. But here we've got orange, mandarin, water lily, myrtle, marine cistus, jasmine, oak, musk, cedar, mastic. So it does get woody, ambery in the dry down. There's some light aromatics, light floral notes. The myrtle is a really great note I love, and it's featured here. Even though they have marine marine cistus. Cistus is Cistus lavandin, which creates an ambery effect. And I like the idea of orangey focused fragrances with a kind of an orangey amber experience. So this is what happens with this one. It's super fresh, very comforting, and super breezy, airy, casual, laid back kind of a day kind of fragrance that I think you guys should definitely get your nose on. I really love this one from Acqua dell'Elba. Check it out. It's Blue from Acqua dell'Elba. And actually I should recommend, or what I should do is mention that is a male targeted release, but I think it's very, very unisex because they have blue for women and blue for men, but I don't think there's any gender behind that citrus fragrance. I think a man and a woman can totally pull that off. All right, this next fragrance I've recommended before, especially in a video about Elemi resin. And if you like the idea of Elemi resin, which if you're not familiar with this ingredient, it's a resin that's citrusy, typically used in the top or a heart note. Go catch my video on Elemi resin fragrances, but it's highlighted in Eau Sauvage Parfum 2017. So that's where you'll really experience it. But if you like the idea of Elemi, definitely got to try Ephemeral Diadix Osmandius. I love it because of the Elemi. So Elemi is a resin, but it's very lemony, citrusy, a bit piney also. It's got a very unique smell. I've actually got Elemi essential oil, so I kind of really learned the idea. So there are some smoky touches within it. Yeah, definitely go catch that video on Elemi. But here I feel like they pay tribute to the Elemi because it's what's running the show. Eventually it gets, ambery. There's vanillic touches here. It's got, vanilla. There's cashmere, which is kind of musky, woody. And then, of course, lavandin, amber, Elemi kind of combined together to create this, experience of amber, but a bit lemony, side of amber. It's also peppery. Elemi can be also kind of black peppery. So all of these things are happening here. And, it smells like a smoky, kind of a pine tree, lemony amber fragrance. Really love it. It's a really great house. I hope to speak more about this house in the future. Let me know if you're familiar with that brand and that fragrance. I believe it's sold at Scent Room. So if you're curious to discover it, definitely check out Scent Room. But the next fragrance, go into the house of Maison du Roc. I've recommended this fragrance. In fact, I've featured this fragrance in our mystery box like last year sometime. This is Maison du Roc's Ylang d'Or. I don't think many people know the brand, but they have some really great fragrances. They also have some really great performing fragrances, and the Ylang d'Or is definitely my favorite. It's a very solar, tropical, islandy kind of slightly beachy fragrance, paying tribute to Ylang-Ylang. If you like Ylang-Ylang, this is definitely a fragrance you should try. I really, really love it, and Ylang-Ylang is not a fragrance note that I was really experienced with too much, or let alone really enjoy the note. I think Ylang 49 from Le Labo eventually turned me around to appreciating it here, but this is actually more about the Ylang-Ylang, whereas Ylang 49 from Le Labo is more, sorry, we've got some airplanes flying by. Ylang 49 is more of a cheaper style, highlighting oak moss and patchouli. Here, this is like a real Ylang-Ylang focused fragrance, and you do experience its kind of raw banana-like qualities here that the Ylang-Ylang has. But it's Ylang, jasmine, tuberose, there's Timur pepper, Sichuan pepper, pink pepper, there's woods and sensual musk credited to it. But really awesome fragrance. It's definitely like summer in a bottle, because it's very solar. So that's Ylang d'Or from the house of Maison du Roc. Next, going to the house of Carine Roitfeld. It's Carine. So I actually just discovered the last release from the house in the kind of pinkish, purplish bottle that I had dismissed before, but I bumped into somebody I know from the fragrance community at Printemps, and they got me to smell it, and I loved it. But I don't have that yet. I haven't bought it, but I'm recommending my number one. It's Carine, created by Dominique Gropion. The other one's also created by Dominique Gropion. But this is patchouli, gardenia, jasmine, pink pepper, vetiver, cashmeran, white amber, pink pepper. It's super sexy, and I have recommended this quite a bit on the channel. If you haven't discovered it yet, please do. Lucky Scent just started carrying this brand there. I knew about it because they told me, because I was speaking about it quite a bit. And one day I was there, they were like, do you know this brand? And I'm like, yes, I do. I've been talking about it on the channel. But really super sexy here. It's a really great combo of patchouli with gardenia and jasmine, but there's also spicy touches of pink pepper. It eventually gets musky in the dry down. There's amber and, you know, musky notes in the dry down as well. Super awesome fragrance, super sexy. It's long lasting, but it's not beast mode. It's a perfect perfume. It's Carine from Carine Roitfeld. Let me know if you're familiar with that one, or have you heard me speaking about it. Next, going to the house of Parfum d'Empire. Now, this is a fairly well-known niche perfume house on the indie side, but I think this fragrance is not necessarily very well-known. This is Le Cri by Parfum d'Empire. I find this to be super sexy, but it's an interesting fragrance because there's no mention of patchouli, and it acts like there's patchouli in here. In the end, it's all about ambrette. There's LOTV, which is a kind of a pear fruity brandy. There's Florentine iris and Turkish rose. Somewhat, it acts a bit like a Chypre style because I'm getting a lot of patchouli from it. But the ambrette is giving us this very fruity, boozy, you know, side of the qualities of the ambrette. Because ambrette is a natural vegetal musk. It's powdery, plus it's fruity, boozy, and kind of reminiscent of pear brandy, but it's an awesome scent if you haven't tried it. It's quite powdery also because there's a lot of iris here, but definitely something you should get your nose on if you haven't tried it. So this is Parfum d'Empire's Le Cri de la Lumière. Let me know if you're familiar with that. All right, next, going to the house of Nissaba. This is Grande Île. You guys familiar with that fragrance? So in the end, this is a vanilla fragrance, but it's not sickly sweet, sugary, you know, caramelly kind of vanilla. There are major dosages of spices like black and pink pepper, but there's also lots of patchouli here and woods like gaiac wood and cedar. So if you like the idea of vanilla, but you don't want it to be sickly sweet, caramelly, butterscotch, you know, sticky, gourmand, this is one for you to try. Because what happens is all these notes, the spices, the woods, kind of like tone down all of the really gooey characteristics of the vanilla. So in the end, you've got a spicy, woody, and, you know, kind of a sweet gourmand, but nicely balanced out. Behind it all, I think because of the black pepper and perhaps the gaiac wood and the cedar as well, there is a slight smokiness happening. So that it kind of might come off a bit like smoked, you know, vanilla or caramel. But again, it's not super sweet, but just a right amount of sweetness if you are one of those types of people that likes the idea of gourmands, but everything you've tried, it's like so sweet, it gives you a headache or something. This is definitely one for you to try. So that's Nissaba's Grande Île. Really awesome vanilla when you want vanilla, but that's kind of on the diet side. But moving on, I just recently discovered this because I bought a bunch of these and I've been meaning to do a video on Thomas Kosmala fragrances, and I haven't done it yet. After I come back from China, I'm in Shanghai for Notes Shanghai, I'm going to do that video. But in the meantime, I'm going to recommend this one because it's super, super sexy. But those of you that don't like Ambrox, I would say stay away from this one. This is number 11, Super Amber. Oh man, it's so good. And to me, it acts a bit like another 13 or something similar to that. Maybe I don't know what, but for me, it goes on so awesome. And even though it's that synthetic note of, you know, Ambroxan, they call it amber woods here. It acts like Ambroxan, and I love the way it wears on me. It's ambery for sure, because they also have lavandin and benzoin in here. They've got incense, they've got woods and dry amber. But for me, it's the way the amber wood or Ambroxan is blended with all these notes. It balances it out. So it creates a bit of a smoothness, a syrupiness, but you still notice the Ambroxan or amber wood note here. And it creates a very sexy layer. So I know some people do not like Ambroxan. I actually really enjoy it. I mean, sometimes it can be overwhelming because Thomas Kosmala has number 4, Après l'Amour, and then there's also number 10, which is so synthetic. Here, you smell the Ambroxan, but it's balanced out, like I said, with the real ambery resinous notes. So it's a kind of a balance, but still sexy, like the way Ambroxan smells. So check this one out if you don't know it. This is Thomas Kosmala's Super Amber, number 11. I recommend it quite a bit. I'm going to do a video on that brand very soon, so stay tuned. But the next fragrance, I've recommended this for several years, and I think it's still Not very hyped brand, but definitely worth checking out. This is Laurent Maison's Aldehakes. Aldehakes, the name aldehydes, aldehakes, kind of it's a play on aldehydes. So it's a very clean aldehydic fragrance, and it's been a favorite fragrance of mine. In the end, it's a lot of aldehydes. So if you're familiar with Chanel No. 5, you'll notice aldehydes because Chanel No. 5 has aldehydes. This one does too, but they don't smell alike. Chanel No. 5 is a different fragrance. This is a different fragrance. They just utilize aldehydes. What they've done here is made it super, super clean. It's so super clean, and it wears like a white shirt, clean, crisp white shirt. And it's one of those kind of lazy day kind of fragrances, or an everyday kind of fragrance where you want to wear something that smells clean, sparkling, effervescent, crisp. It's the kind of fragrance you wear, and I absolutely love it. It's also musky. It's got a lot of white musk. There's cashmere on here. Of course, the aldehydes, bergamot, jasmine petals, heliotrope, so it does get a little powdery, but in the end, it's a really, really awesome scent. Recommended. I've recommended it for many years, and I've had the older bottle that I bought once I was in Lisbon at Embassy Niche Perfumery, but now I have the newer bottle, so I wanted to recommend it to you guys as well. So let me know if you're familiar with Laurent Maison fragrances. Add a comment below, or if any of the fragrances I've mentioned so far, what do you think? Do add a comment below. Let's move on to a house called Maison. This is Ment and Enivrant. Is that how you say it? Enivrant? It's French, and I don't speak French, guys. So some of you are saying you've been doing videos for so long. Why don't you learn how to speak French? I'm not studying French. I'm doing my best. So if you don't like the way I speak French, then I guess that's not my problem. If I have time to learn French, I will learn French, but I'm doing my best. But I discovered this recently, really fell in love with it. It's a green minty fragrance. Obviously, the name mint is in the name of the fragrance, the word. So you know what you're getting into. It's super green. It's got absinthe. There's mint here, violet leaves, mineral amber. There's myrrh, benzoin, cypriol, and a musk accord. What I like about it is you get the naturalistic raw, fresh mint smell here, plus a fusion of the dried kind of mint after, you've dried the mint, or you buy like a, jar of dried mint for cooking and things like that. But in the end, it's quite ozonic. It's very fresh. It's very herbal. And eventually in the dry down, you're getting into some ambery, woody, earthy territory, which becomes musky because they have what's known as a signature musk accord. Really loved it. I think it's more of a like a warm weather fragrance, but I think it has enough depth in the dry down that it will work fine in the autumn. Especially, I think this is a great autumn fragrance as well. But for me, the freshness of the mint makes it a bit more of a more summer appropriate fragrance. But also the absinthe really comes alive here. And if you don't know what absinthe is, it's a bit more like licorice. So the combination of all these green herbal kind of notes is really, really awesome. So that's Maison with Ment and Enivrant. I know I'm butchering it, but that's the best I could do. And speaking of mint, we have another fragrance that focuses on mint, but with a few other notes that kind of work well together, aromatic notes and green notes. This is Parfumerie Particulière Berliner. As you can see right there, the H is in there, Berliner. Wow, what a great fragrance and what a great brand, guys. I'm going to speak about this brand going forward. I really fell in love with this brand and the design for their packaging. Look it up, really, really great. But this one really spoke to me. Berliner features glacial mint, hemp, canapa sativa essence, sage essence, green notes, atlas cedar, Ambrox sand, and ambrosanide. Have you guys gotten your nose on these fragrances? They have some really, really great fragrances. They also have a nice tonka fragrance. But what I like about this is it smells like a green minty forest, and the sativa, I'm assuming, is, like marijuana or, hemp, obviously. It's providing some kind of a bitterness against the mint, where the mint itself, it says glacial mint. There's a bit of a frozen cooling effect happening here. But lots of green notes. There's the sage in here, which is also more herbal, but eventually musky, woody, and sexy, because there's something really sexy about this. And the DNA of the fragrance, or whatever it is, I totally fell in love with it. And you guys definitely need to try this, especially if you like mint. And mint can be challenging sometimes. The kind of mint they're using here and in the previous fragrance are the kind of mint that I like. I don't like sweet, toothpastey, candied kind of mint fragrances, but this smells like an herb garden, more in the kind of a green forest idea. Really love it. I think it's super sexy. Once again, it has Ambrox sand. Check it out, Berliner, from the house of Parfumerie Particulière. Let me know if you're familiar with that house. Next, going to a house called Ether with Extreme. I recently did a video on this house with 3 fragrances, including Extreme. And this is also a super musky skin scent. Lots of Ambrox here with Hedione, Erotil, Globalide, and Exaltalide. It's a very personal fragrance, but I like the way it smells because it's super musky and somebody has to get close to you to, you know, smell you. But once they do, it's really, really awesome. Go catch my video on the house. They utilize a lot of these kind of synthetic molecular notes in their fragrances. This one is totally, synthetic, but super, super musky, ambery, woody, and I love the way it smells. But as I said, you need to kind of have a little warm body for it to project off of you, or somebody has to get really close to you to smell you. And it smells sexy as heck. So this is Ether's Extreme. Let me know if you're familiar with that fragrance. Next, going to the house of Maitre Parfumeur. This is Malmoul Mon Amour. You guys familiar with this house and this fragrance? It's a Lebanese brand, and they're focusing on 3 new fragrances inspired by Lebanese desserts. This is the Malmoul dessert. And yeah, it's so yum. If you guys have ever had malmoul, it's a kind of a shortbread cookie with nuts in it. And the inspiration is that basically it's a bit sweet with dates and pistachio. There's nutty notes, black sesame, piri-piri, nutmeg, gaiac wood, white musks, amyris, vetiver, and caramel. It's not super sticky gourmand, even though they mention caramel. I think it adds some sweetness. It does get musky in the dry down, and it's super nutty and a bit savory too, because the shortbread has that kind of salty, savory kind of a taste when you're biting into the shortbread, because some of it is sweet and some sides of it is salty or savory, and you got that kind of an experience with this gourmand. I wouldn't say it's a super sticky gourmand, but it's super delicious. So that is Malmoul Mon Amour from Maitre Parfumeur. Let me know if you guys are familiar with that fragrance or the brand. And then we're going to the house of Voscagnan Parfums. It's Cocktail de Minuit. You guys familiar with this? Another fragrance featuring tomato leaves, but this time meshed with sweet wild strawberries. The combo is so good. Tomato leaves are an acquired taste. I recently did a video on this new Comme des Garçons fragrance called Vaquera Classic Perdu. It is also tomato leaves. I'm not sure if the video has aired yet, but it'll either air soon or just before this video. But here we've got a nice juicy jammy strawberry, tart sweet or sweet tart against the tomato leaves, bitter, green, and herbal kind of. And then you've got gin and citruses in here. So it's kind of a cocktail idea with these kind of notes. It smells fantastic. It smells very fresh, very fruity, and also bitter green as well. Really lovely made. I have spoken about the brand here and there, and I've actually featured one of their fragrances in a mystery box, I think a couple of years ago now. But this is definitely worth noting. If you guys aren't familiar with this house, check it out. That is Voscagnan Parfums Cocktail de Minuit. I've actually spoken about this next fragrance as well, and the brand I've actually featured several times in different Scent Club kit boxes and also mystery boxes. But this fragrance is fairly underrated and not many people speak about it, and I want to highlight it to you guys. One of the best cedar fragrances I've put my nose on. This is Cedra Superfluide, and it does feature cedar with sandalwood. There's ambroxan, there's plums, rose, vanilla, pink berries, thyme, immortelle. I do get bored of, straightforward woody fragrances unless it's sandalwood, because I really love sandalwoody fragrances. But cedar fragrances can get boring sometimes. But here we've got a really nice balance of cedar with sandalwood, plus the light fruitiness of the plums and the floral touches of the rose. And it's balanced with some musks and vanillic notes and spices and so on. And it's a really, really awesome cedar-focused fragrance. If you guys haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. It does act peppery, lightly fruity, as I said, super spicy, and of course musky in the dry down. Really nicely done. I think it's easy to wear, not super challenging, but really focusing on wood, cedar, and sandalwood, in nice contrast with some of the other notes like plums, rose, vanilla, and pink pepper. So that's Cedra Superfluide from the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. Next, we're going to the house of the Hellenist or Hellenist. It's Le Bras de Morphe. Are you guys familiar with this fragrance and this brand? I actually shot a video with the owner of the Hellenist or Hellenist. And if you're curious to learn more about it, definitely check it out. It's one of my favorite brand discoveries. And one of my favorite fragrances from this house is this. It's an Iris Orris focused fragrance with violets. There's violet leaves, hazelwood, heliotrope, cashmere, tonka beans, vanilla, and peaches. So it is a bit reminiscent of something like Dior Homme Intense, but you really can pick out the violets and the violet leaves in this, where Dior Homme Intense or Dior Homme Parfum doesn't have. So it's a nice contrast of those. And it does have ambery qualities and also, vanilla qualities. But overall experience is super awesome. The orris is a bit vegetal, and it's also, meshed with the violets and the violet leaves. So it does have this slight greenness, but it's created in such a masterful way. It's awesome the way it smells. Super, super awesome. If you haven't tried this, do try it. Definitely a great discovery. It's Le Bras de Morphe from the house of Hellenist. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Then go into a new house called Bontemps Paris. This is Le Grand Saut. This one right here. I discovered it recently at the Printemps Boutique in Paris, and there were 3 fragrances launched by the brand, and they were on the table. I smelled all 3 and I fell in love with this one, so I bought this. And I fell in love with it because it does have some light gourmand touches, but it's meshed in a way that acts more like a woody fragrance with some kind of a cuminy spices. So it really caught me off guard in a good way, so I had to have the fragrance. But it features Haitian vetiver, clary sage, cardamom, coffee, cocoa, milk foam accord, and benzoin. Let me know if you're familiar with this. It's a really awesome scent. I think it was also 115 euros, so it was not that expensive. So you're getting this kind of milky, chocolatey coffee thing happening, almost like a latte, milky, foamy kind of. But on the other side, there's something woods, spices, and a bit like cumin happening. And I think we're getting that from either the vetiver or maybe the clary sage. But the combo is great. It's almost like 2 sides. It's a sweet gourmand side, milky coffee, chocolatey cacao, and woody spicy on the other side. It's a bit ambery in the dry down as well, but it smells really, really awesome. Really fell in love with the brand, and also the bottles and their caps and the simplicity. And so definitely you guys should check that brand out. All right, we've got 2 more fragrances left. This next fragrance is from the house of Phenom. Are you guys familiar with this house? This is Fleur de Socotra. Are you familiar with this fragrance? All right, this is a fragrance I fell in love with along in my journey of, going to perfume shops and things like that. And in one side, it acts a bit like Love Don't Be Shy, but in a different way. So it's got this kind of sweet, milky, orange blossomy thing happening, which I think it's other white flowers that are in here rather than the orange blossom. And there's also a fruity side. It's just made in a very velvety, smooth, silky smooth, slightly gourmand, floral kind of a thing. Definitely a gorgeous amber floral fragrance. It's mandarin, peaches, bergamot, davana, jasmine sambac, tuberose, ylang-ylang, white chocolate, vanilla, sandalwood, and musk. Long lasting, super long lasting. I think it's also created by Chris Maurice of Zerjoff Fragrances. And it does lean a bit feminine. I think it does lean feminine, I should say. But it's a nice balance of this creamy, velvety, smooth, gourmandy notes with white flowers. So it's a really gorgeous amber floral fragrance. So that is Phenom Fleur de Socotra. And the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is a really great, juicy, tart, fruity fragrance, Reinvented's Ethereal Soul. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. This is black currants, musk, cherries, raspberries, moss, and citruses. I think there might be some ambroxan or something like that in this fragrance as well. But there's a slight leathery, saffrony thing happening here as well, which they don't mention the notes like that. But lots of black currants and cherries and raspberries. So it's juicy, super fruity, tart, mixed with citruses, musks, and moss. Really love it. Also very long lasting. I think definitely one of their best. If you haven't tried Reinvented's Ethereal Soul in Extrait de Parfum concentration, definitely try that. And that's it, guys. There's 21 fragrances here for you. Let me know if you've tried these fragrances. If you haven't, please definitely seek these fragrances out. Get samples, or if you find a great deal on the fragrances themselves, get the fragrances themselves. But really awesome offerings, I think, and definitely worth checking out. If you've discovered something brand new and I haven't spoken about it, do add a comment and let me know. And if you've discovered these fragrances, let me know as well what your thoughts are. Thanks so much for watching today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please click the subscribe button and also the bell icon so you'll be notified for future videos. And please give a thumbs up for this video. See you guys later. Bye-bye.